I am back as the leader of MorningStar. I took those, Chris had resigned as president and CEO. I am now the president and CEO. I just retook the position that I had. You're going to see me here a lot more. I'm going to remain living in Moravian Falls. But more than anything, I want to be where the Lord wants me and you, okay? But I'll tell you, when I got those letters, I was not expecting them. I did not see that coming. And it was a shock. But what shocked me even more was what was in the letters. Or I should say, what was not in the letters. It was, in my opinion, had no regard for the church, the ministry, the leaders, the board, our board, that we try to be open with everything about as much as we can. They're busy people too. But I said, this is not a shepherd's heart. A shepherd, true shepherd, would never do this and just abandon the people. Just quit for whatever reason. I can understand resigning when you're open about your transgressions or something like that. But anyway, I was really shocked. I said, I didn't see this coming, but I didn't see this in him either. And I'm thankful that he has resigned. We want people we release, we want to be shepherds after the Lord's heart, which means they will lay down their lives for the people, not make everything about them, about what they need, what their ambitions or whatever. And I think we learned a lot about how to discern that. And I missed it. You know, I don't think he should have ever been put in that position. But about the transgression, I believe there's more being covered on the internet and some news media and everything. And but where this transgression that did happen with Chris before he took over as leader of the ministry, you know, it was brought to us. We went into it, and Chris had already made moves to bring it out, to bring it to his wife's attention, show her the text messages. I mean, and to me, he had already taken steps of real fruit for repentance, to stop the relationship, to everything. But we still felt like this has to be disclosed to our entire board of directors, because they're the ones who are going to be putting him in that position. It wasn't just me. They had to approve him. And before we can do that, we've got to find the gates of hell, how that behavior manifested to the degree that it did anyway, so that it doesn't happen again. So Chris came, presented everything. I thought he did it very, clearly, straightforwardly, candidly. Tom Hardiman and I had spent several hours with the woman that was involved. She was not a young girl. She was a student, but she was just a little bit younger than Chris. And but she came with her mother. She and her mother, and they absolutely verified, both Chris and she, that nothing physical had taken place. Nothing. And but even so, the texting, everything else that had happened was really wrong. And it was really, in my opinion, stupid. There's a level of lack of wisdom here we've got to address. Brought it out to the board, and I fully believe that we were giving them the truth and the whole truth. The lady involved had verified that's true. There was no physical contact. And so there wasn't much more we could go on. If the Lord didn't give us some revelation of something or whatever, which I was praying for. Anyway, we did put Chris in a restoration process. And, you know, we did not install him as president and CEO at that time, which he was here to become. It went through a time, about 18 months, and where he was in kind of probation. We did put him in as an acting president and CEO later. It wasn't immediate, but where there would be an acting. And honestly, I want to see how he's going to behave when he starts having the authority. But we weren't giving him the real position. You can act as it, but we're still going to watch it for a while. I think Tom met with him once a week or whatever. There was, you know, a lot we really wanted to see through that process. It still may have been premature. I think I really discerned who Chris was wrongly. I used to introduce him as someone half my age with twice my wisdom. I told him I should have added an addendum to that in some things. And but the main thing that concerns me is the level of self-centeredness, selfishness, lack of regard for God's people, that the things were done the first. There's a whole list of things. And I've continued to be in communication with Chris, and I did until that was stopped. I felt like he was getting belligerent, but I would have continued on until he let me know, if you want to say anything else to me, say it to my lawyer. I said, okay, if we want to go there, we'll go there. But I've just not been at all pleased with the continuing behavior of Chris, but I'm glad it's come out now. Okay. So there's another thing that concerns me. When this lawsuit came up, which we do have a lawsuit against the ministry, there were some young men in our youth program that a volunteer did some terrible things with, really terrible. And, we have, our lawyers looked at it, we've looked at it to see any place we failed here in allowing this to happen and seeing it happen. In my opinion, at this time, we feel that we were not in any way negligent in vetting the people, that we did everything that could be done in this situation. We immediately, when we found out about it, we went to the police. I mean, immediately, within minutes, we called the police in to do a thorough let them do the investigation, which we think is right. They're professionals at this type of thing. And we've tried to be cooperative as much as we can. We didn't know at the time that the one who was over our safety at the time had been a part of the local police sheriff's department, and somehow they weren't too friendly with each other. Obviously something happened. We thought they were the best. He was the best to help head this up because he had just been in the department. But anyway, there were some rifts there. We finally found out about it. But I still think he did a good job, a fair job, and I think pretty much everything is covered. It's still an ongoing thing. Okay, look, we have insurance to cover that. We've checked, we're fully covered, everybody's covered. There's no problem with that, but I don't want it to go. And if it needs to go to court, I'm good with that. And Chris's statement that he didn't want to have to defend against victims, we don't want to either. The only thing we want to defend in this is the truth. And you've heard me say before, we do not make policies. I try not to think when I am doing something or making a policy or anything else about how this is going to fall legally. Because in all honesty, the whole legal system right now is really messed up. Everybody's suing everybody else. But even beyond that, even if it was perfect, I want my first thought to be keep our people safe. But there were a lot of accusations still going on. I want to track them down, see if they're true first before we say no. I defended Chris because everything I had on this situation with this lady, I felt like he had been straightforward with us and with the board. I have now have an abundance of evidence that he was not, and that there was physical involvement. The girl admitted this to a news media, and I said, okay, wait a minute. We were told by her, with her mother present, something entirely different. We're told the opposite. Now the story's been changed. Somewhere there's lying to us in the beginning or now, so I'm not going to immediately buy that. And at that time, I didn't think that Chris had ever tried to deceive me, not tell me the truth, whatever. I just had never witnessed that with Chris. Now I think there was a whole lot that went on that is starting to surface. It goes deeper, okay? And I believe Chris lied to us and our board in that situation. But let me say this, I believe it. You know, there's evidence, but that doesn't mean it's true. Something can be evident, but because evidence is admissible in court, it doesn't mean it's true, but it does mean it's got a level of verification that it can be presented as evidence, and the trial is supposed to flush that out, whether it's true or not. It still has to be determined as true, and all I can say is there is increasing amount of evidence and people coming forth with stuff that there's evidence that I was not told the truth, we weren't, and we're going to continue to pursue those things. Does that make sense to you?